Hey everybody, welcome to this video continuing the series on Much Ado About Nothing. So you can pick up the ebook guide to Much Ado About Nothing at mrbruff.com and amazon.co.uk. It contains the complete original text, a line-by-line translation into modern English and detailed analysis, everything you need to know for the exams. What we're going to do in this video is just carry on with the translation into modern English. We're up to Act 3, Scene 1 in Leonato's garden. Enter Hero, Margaret and Ursula. So you'll remember in the previous scene, all of the men, Don Pedro, Claudio, Leonato, they conspired to trick Benedict into thinking that Beatrice loves him. And now they're going to do the same to Beatrice with Hero, Margaret and Ursula sort of playing a trick. So Hero says, "Good Margaret, run thee to the parlour, there shalt thou find my cousin Beatrice, proposing with the prince and Claudio. Whisper her ear and tell her, I and Ursula walk in the orchard, and our whole discourse is all of her. Say that thou overheardest, and bid her steal into the pleased bower, where honeysuckles ripened by the sun forbid the sun to enter, like favourites made proud by princes that advance their pride against that power that bred it. There will she hide her to listen our purpose. This is thy office. Bear thee well in it, and leave us alone." So what Hero's saying here is, look, Margaret, run to the sitting room, and there you'll find Beatrice. She's talking to Claudio and the prince. And whisper to her that Ursula and I are walking in the orchard, and everything we're talking about is about her. And say that you overheard us, and tell her she should sneak into the avenue where the intertwined branches of honeysuckle have grown so thick that they block out the sunlight, like courtiers who have grown powerful in the favour of a prince and then plotted against him, and hide there to listen to our conversation. That's your job. Do it well, and then leave us. Margaret says, "I'll make her come, I warrant you presently." In other words, I'll make her come right away. And off she goes. Then Hero says to Ursula, "Now, Ursula, when Beatrice doth come, as we do trace this alley up and down, our talk must only be of Benedick. When I do name him, let it be thy part to praise him more than ever man did merit. My talk to thee must be how Benedick is sick in love with Beatrice. Of this matter as little Cupid's crafty arrow made, that only wounds by hearsay." So what is Hero saying? Well, she's explaining the plan to Ursula and saying, look, Ursula, when Beatrice comes and we're walking up and down this bit here, we're going to talk about Benedick. And when I mention his name, you must praise him more highly than any man deserves. My talk to you will be all about how lovesick Benedick is for Beatrice. Overheard gossip is the stuff Cupid's clever little arrows are made of. And with that in comes Beatrice, and Hero, still talking, says, "Now begin, for look where Beatrice like a lapwing runs close by the ground to hear our conference." In other words, right, let's start talking. Beatrice is running over, keeping low like a bird, pretending to be injured, to listen in on our conversation. And Ursula says, "The pleasantest angling is to see the fish cut with her golden oars the silver stream, and greedily devour the treacherous bait. So angle we for Beatrice, who even now is couched in the woodbine coverture. Fear you not my part of the dialogue." In other words, what the best type of fishing is when you actually see the fish cut through the silver water with its golden fins and greedily take the bait. And that's how it's going to be with Beatrice, who's already crouching in the shade of the honeysuckle. Don't worry, I'll play my part well. Hero then responds to that with, "Then go we near her, that her ear lose nothing of the false sweet bait that we lay for it." And then says, so that Beatrice can hear, "No, truly, Ursula, she is too disdainful. I know her spirits are as coy and wild as haggards of the rock." So here we have Hero saying, let's move closer to her so she doesn't miss a word of what we're about to say. And then knowing that Beatrice can hear, says, "No, really, Ursula, she's too scornful. She's as skittish and fierce as the wild hawks of the rocks." So a similar technique to that of Benedick, critical. Ursula says, "But are you sure that Benedick loves Beatrice so entirely?" In other words, are you sure he loves her? Hero says, "So says the prince and my new betrothed lord." In other words, well, that's what the prince and my new fiance say. And Ursula says, "And did they bid you to tell her of it, madam? Do they want, Beatrice to know about it?" Hero says, they did entreat me to acquaint her of it, but I persuaded them, if they loved Benedict, to wish him wrestle his affection, and never to let Beatrice know of it. So exactly the same as the technique with Benedict. Hero saying, well, they wanted me to tell her, but I persuaded them that if they really loved Benedict, they should tell him to get a grip of himself and never breathe a word of it to Beatrice. Ursula says, why did you so? Doth not the gentleman deserve as full a fortune at a bed as ever Beatrice shall couch upon? Why did you do that? Doesn't Benedict deserve marital bliss? And Hero says, oh, God of love, I know he doth deserve as much as may be yielded to a man. But nature never framed a woman's heart of prouder stuff than that of Beatrice. Disdain and scorn ride sparkling in her eyes, mispiring what they look on, and her wit values itself so highly that to her all matters else seem weak. She cannot love, nor take no shape nor project of affection, she is so self-endeared. In other words, and this would have been said with great sort of dramatic power, by the God of love, he deserves as much as any man is allowed. But nature never made any woman's heart out of prouder material than it did Beatrice's. You can see her eyes sparkle with pleasure as they scorn and despise everything they look at. And she's so full of her own cleverness that she's not interested in anything else. And she's so in love with herself that she's not interested in anybody else. And Ursula says, sure, I think so, and therefore certainly it were not good she knew this love, lest she make sport at it. In other words, yeah, I think you're right, and it wouldn't be good to let her know that Benedict loves her, because she'd just make fun of him. Hero says, why, you speak truth, I never yet saw man, how wise, how noble, young, how rarely featured, but she would spell him backward. If fair face, she would swear the gentleman should be her sister. If black, why nature drawing of an antique made a foul blot. If tall, a lance ill-headed. If low, an agate very vilely cut. If speaking, why a vein blown with all winds. If silent, why a block moved with none. So turns she every man the wrong side out, and never gives to truth and virtue that which simpleness and merit purchaseth. So she's saying, Hero's saying, it's true. I've yet to see a man so clever, noble, youthful and handsome that she wouldn't turn it all back to front and make him look bad. If his skin is fair, she'd say he looked like a girl. If it's dark, then she'd say that nature's made him an ink blot. If tall, then he's a wonky-headed lance. If short, a badly carved miniature. If talkative, he's a weather vane, turning to face whatever wind blows. And if he doesn't talk, then he's a solid block, not moved by the wind at all. So she turns everybody's character on its head and never acknowledges integrity or merit in a man. Now, at this point, we haven't heard from Beatrice, but you can imagine, of course, on stage, she would be furious with what she's listening to. Ursula says, sure, such carping is not commendable. In other words, it's true that constant nitpicking is not something to admire. And then Hero again with another long speech. No, not to be so odd and from all fashions as Beatrice is cannot be commendable. But who dare tell her so? If I should speak, she would mock me into air. Oh, she would laugh me out of myself, press me to death with wit. Therefore let Benedict, like covered fire, consume away in sighs, waste inwardly. It were a better death than die with mocks, which is as bad as die with tickling. So in other words, it's certainly not admirable to be such a perverse oddball as Beatrice is. But who's got the courage to tell her? If I said anything, she'd laugh me out of court. She'd mock me till I disappeared into thin air. She'd laugh me right out of my body. Then crush me with her wit. Rather let Benedict be like a covered fire that smoulders away unseen until it uses up all the air, and die than die of mockery, which is as bad as being tickled to death. And Ursula says, yet tell her of it. Hear what she will say. Well, no, go on, tell her. See what she will say. See how she'll respond. Hero, no, rather I will go to Benedict and counsel him to fight against his passions, and truly I'll devise some honest slanders to stain my cousin with. One doth not know how much an ill word may empoison liking. So Hero taking this really far now, saying, no, I'll go to Benedict and I'll advise him to fight his feelings off. And I'll also make up a few horrible things about Beatrice. A relationship can be poisoned more easily than you think by a single nasty word. Of course, a little bit of foreshadowing there, because we know that that's about to happen for Hero herself. And Ursula says, "Oh, do not do your cousin such a wrong. She cannot be so much without true judgment, having so swift and excellent a wit as she is prized to have, as to refuse so rare a gentleman as Signor Benedick." In other words, don't do such a bad thing to your cousin. She can't be so stupid, having the quick and clever mind that everybody says she does, that she would refuse such a special gentleman as Sir Benedick. Hero says he is the only man of Italy. Always accepted, my dear Claudio. You know, he's the only worthy man in the whole country apart from Claudio. And Ursula says, "I pray you, be not angry with me, madam, speaking my fancy. Signor Benedick, for shape, for bearing, argument, and valour, goes foremost in report throughout Italy." In other words, well, please don't be angry with me for speaking my mind, but Benedick is considered the best man in Italy for looks, bearing, reasoning, and bravery. And what she's sort of insinuating is he's even better than Claudio. Hero says, "Indeed, he hath an excellent good name." Yes, his reputation is very good. And Ursula says, "His excellence did earn it. He had it. When are you married, madam?" So she's sort of changing the subject slightly here. You know, he's earned that reputation. Now, when are you going to get married? And Hero says, "Why, every day tomorrow. Come, go in, I'll show thee some attires, and have thy counsel which is the best to furnish me tomorrow." So she's using this opportunity to get away now, saying, you know, every single day I'm married, starting tomorrow. Let's go in, I'll show you some dresses, and you can advise me on which one's the best to wear. Ursula says, "She's limed, I warrant you. We've caught her, madam. She's in the trap. I'm sure we've caught her." That would have been quietly, of course, just to Hero. And Hero says, "If it proves so, then loving goes by haps. Some Cupid kills with arrows, some with traps." In other words, if that's true, love is a game of chance, and Cupid gets some with his arrows, but others he catches with traps. And then Beatrice comes forward. Now, knowing the mirroring structure of this scene with the previous one where the trick was laid on Benedick, we look forward to what is Beatrice going to say. And she doesn't disappoint. She says, "What fire is in mine ears? Can this be true? Stand I condemned for pride and scorn so much? Contempt, farewell, and maiden pride adieu. No glory lives behind the back of such. And Benedick, love on. I will requite thee, taming my wild heart to thy loving hand. If thou dost love me, my kindness shall incite thee to bind our loves up in a holy band. For others say thou dost deserve, and I believe it better than reportingly." So in other words, she says, these words burn me like fire. Can this be true? Can I be so condemned for my pride and scornfulness? Then I'll say goodbye to contemptuousness and to my pride in being unmarried. I'm not well spoken of behind my back for being like that. And Benedick, keep on loving me. I will return your love. I'll no longer be a wild hawk, but a tame one, coming to your loving hand. I'll be so kind towards you that if you really do love me, you will be encouraged to tie the knot. Others say you deserve my love, and I believe it's true, even more so than what they say. And she exits. Please do subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already, and thank you for watching the video.